You think a village of the living dead just means some rotting corpses stumbling around? Think again. It may shatter everything you thought you knew about being alive and hell. Now step into the shoes of a starving refugee, driven mad by hunger and trapped in a dead end. Let's find out what unspeakable horror lies hidden in the village that swallowed up Wang Mazi and Old Li. Hunger is a cold, venomous snake, coiled tight in your hollow belly, every twitch bringing waves of stabbing pain. It's 1942 in the Guangzhou plain, scorched earth stretching to the horizon. The sky, a burning iron plate pressing down on your skull, sucking the last breath of moisture from the land. The wind whips up searing dust that scrapes your face like a dull blade. You, Wang Mazi, and Old Li, three human shadows wrung dry by famine, stumble forward, one shaky step at a time, through the cracked gullies of yellow earth. Goddamn sky, Wang Mazi spat. Blood oozed from his chapped lips, instantly glued by dust. His hunched back, once broad enough to carry full sacks of wheat, was now little more than bones jutting through rags. If we don't find something to eat soon, we're gonna die right here like stray dogs. His voice rasped, thick with the hopelessness of the dying. Old Li said nothing. He just stared, his cloudy eyes barely showing any whites, fixed on the shadow of a jagged, unnaturally dark mountain to the northwest. The peaks writhed in the heat haze, radiating a sinister aura that defied explanation. His hand, dry and cracked like old bark, lifted slowly to point. A hoarse croak rattled from his throat like bellows gone bad. Heard the old folks say there's a village hidden in that hollow might be a way out. A way out? You licked your own cracked lips, tasting rust and blood. All you could see was endless yellow and death, trees stripped bare down to their pale, bone-white trunks. Even the grass roots had been dug up. Hunger had gnawed this land to the skeleton. A mad glint flickered in Wang Mazi's eyes. He nodded hard, voice raspy but resolute. Right. Dead horse or not, it's worth the gamble. Let's go. That sliver of survival instinct crushed the vague unease in your heart. The three of you, ghost-like wretches driven by hunger, turned toward the ominous mountain shadows and stumbled forward. The closer you got, the more the heat in the air was replaced by a clammy chill of death. The mountain path was steep and jagged, strewn with loose stones. Every step drained your last strength. Who knows how long it took, but after scaling a sharp ridge, a lifeless village suddenly appeared nestled in a narrow valley like a giant abandoned grave. The silence was terrifying. No roosters, no dogs, no smoke, no voices. Dozens of low, crooked mud brick huts huddled together, most collapsed into rubble, leaving only broken walls and ruins, like bones chewed by a monstrous beast. Windows were empty black holes. Rotten doors hung loose, creaking now and then, with an eerie moan. The air was thick with the sickly sweet stench of dust, rot, and something metallic and foul, pressing on your chest like a heavy shroud. Every breath felt like choking on death. What the hell is this, a goddamn ghost village? Wang Mazi panted, voice trembling with fear. The deathly stillness had snuffed out most of his earlier frenzy. Old Li's cloudy eyes scanned the hollow windows and doors, his wrinkled face taut with tension. His Adam's apple bobbed as he whispered, almost inaudibly, "Too quiet, way too quiet." The setting sun bled across the ruins, painting the broken walls with streaks of dark red, but instead of warmth, it felt like the bloodstains of a massacre long past, outlining the village in grotesque shadow. The three of you huddled beneath half a wall still standing. You searched the least damaged houses by day, finding only thick dust, broken junk, and bones gnawed by rats. Hunger and bone deep cold forced you into a pile, your bodies shivering uncontrollably. Then, as the last trace of crimson light was swallowed by the mountains and pitch-black darkness rushed into the valley, a faint, skin-crawling rustle began to rise from all directions. You froze, heart clenching so tight it nearly leapt from your throat. In the dim starlight, you clamped your hand over your mouth and forced yourself to look. Out from the black doorways, gaping like the maws of beasts, crawled twisted, stiff shadows, slowly oozing into the open. They were once human, but now they were nothing but barely recognizable husks. Their clothes hung in filthy shreds, caked in dirt and brown stains, clinging to shriveled or swollen limbs. Their skin was a nauseating bluish gray or pale white, gleaming under the starlight with a waxy, corpse-like sheen. Movements jerky and awkward, joints creaking like rusted hinges, they dragged themselves along the broken ruins and narrow paths, heads drooping or twisted, hollow sockets filled with an endless blackness that devoured light. No breathing, no footsteps, only the soft rasp of cloth on bone, a deathly tide flowing silently through the village. Beside you, Wang Mazi began trembling violently, teeth chattering. Old Li grabbed him fast, his bony hand like iron clamps, cold and strong. His murky eyes flared with a terrifying sharpness in the dark, locking onto you. His lips formed a silent command. Don't move. Don't make a sound. Time froze. You three clung to the wall like cold stones, barely breathing. The stink of rot grew stronger as the shadows came near, laced with earth and decay, burrowing into your nose and twisting your guts. One of the living corpses dragged a broken, twisted leg just 10 paces from you. Its drooping head slowly turned toward your hiding place. Those empty sockets seemed to see you, and in that instant, icy despair flooded every vein in your body. Just as you were about to scream or vomit, the corpse's head slowly, lifelessly turned away again. It dragged its leg onward, vanishing into even deeper darkness. Cold sweat had soaked through your rags, sticky and icy on your skin. No one knew how long it lasted. It felt like a century, but at last, the suffocating rustle faded, retreating like a tide into the dead silence of the village. Run! Wang Mazi collapsed, sobbing in a whisper. This is fucking hell full of ghosts. Old Li kept his eyes fixed on the direction the corpse had gone, lips pressed into a tight line, wrinkles carved deep like blade marks. We can't run. Too dark. Roads too steep. Running is suicide. He suddenly turned, his cloudy eyes glowing like a beast's in the dark. Hide. Make it till dawn. Like terrified rats, you scrambled through the wreckage and shadows, desperately searching for a deeper hiding place. At last, you crawled into a half-collapsed cellar. The rotting wooden lid barely closed, sealing out the dead world above and the last trace of starlight. Inside, the air reeked of damp soil and years-old spoiled grain. The cramped space echoed with nothing but your ragged, stifled breathing and thunderous heartbeats. Darkness and terror were the perfect fuel for hunger. The pain in your stomach became razor-sharp. Wang Mazi curled up in a corner, shaking like a leaf in the wind, mumbling incoherently. So hungry, Mom, cakes, white bread. You fumbled into the inner pocket of your clothes and pulled out the last bit of food, a rock-hard nub of bran flatbread no bigger than a fingernail. Your hand shook as you broke off a third, stuffing it into Wang Mazi's palm. You gave another third to Old Li, who sat like a silent stone. Wang Mazi snatched it up and stuffed it in his mouth. The rough brand scraped his throat as he swallowed with a painful gulp. In the dark, every chew and swallow echoed like thunder. Suddenly, he stopped. He muttered, confused. Then he gasped sharply, voice sticky and urgent. "What's that smell?" "Meat! I smell meat!" Your heart sank. A chill shot from your soles to your scalp. This cellar reeked of mold and rot. What meat smell? "Mozzie, what the hell are you saying?" Old Lee snapped, voice rising in alarm. "I swear, Old Lee, it's real. Over there, in that crack in the wall." Wang Mozzie's voice was wild now, brimming with manic greed. You heard him crawling toward the damp earthen wall. "Get back!" Old Lie growled and reached for him. But it was too late. In the darkness, you heard Wang Mozzie panting with excitement, then a wet squelch, like teeth sinking into something soft and moist. He mumbled, mouth full. "So good, smells so good." A stench exploded in the cellar, sweet, putrid, meaty rot, so strong it made you gag. You couldn't hold it anymore. Your stomach turned inside out. Acid surged up your throat. "Wang Mozzie! Are you out of your fucking mind? Spit it out!" Old Lee shouted, voice shaking with rage and something else, fear. He lunged to grab him. Chaos erupted in the dark, scuffling, shouting, gagging. You reached for Wang Mozzie's arm, boiling hot. That kind of heat wasn't human. "He's burning up!" You cried out in shock. The chaos came to a halt. Old Lee was gasping for breath, finally letting go. In the darkness, only Wang Mozzie's heavy, searing breaths remained, like a broken bellows, mixed with incoherent muttering. "Hungry, eat good, don't take it." A cold, sticky fear coiled around your heart like a venomous snake. You fumbled for the last half-match hidden close to your body. Your fingers trembled so badly you could barely hold it. Snap! A faint flame flickered to life, instantly driving back the darkness and lighting up a scene straight out of hell. Wang Mozzie was curled up in a corner, face twisted in a grotesque blend of ecstasy and agony. His lips, chin, and even the front of his tattered shirt were smeared with a foul, blackish-green sludge that was the festering rot from the wall crack. But what truly made your blood run cold was the skin on his neck and arms, where a sickening bluish-black stain was spreading at an alarming speed. The color slithered like a living thing, glowing eerily under the flickering light, racing up his arm along old, scabbed-over scratches. "Corpse poison!" Old Lee gasped, his voice dry and hoarse, filled with a hopeless chill. The match burned out. The last bit of light vanished. The cellar was swallowed by deeper darkness. From Wang Mozzie's throat came not mutters, but deep, bestial growls, feral and menacing. "Go! Run!" Old Lee suddenly shoved you hard. His wiry frame exploded with shocking strength, launching you toward the rotten wooden lid of the cellar. Then, like an enraged old wolf, he turned and hurled himself into the darkness, straight at the snarling beast that had once been Wang Mozzie. "Old Lie!" you shouted. "Leave me! Get out!" His roar shook the cramped cellar, resolute and final. Then it was drowned out by thuds, tearing flesh, and Wang Mozzie, or rather, the monster howling in fury. The air filled with rot, blood, and the howls of despair. Terrified, you scrambled up toward the lid, using every ounce of strength to push against it. The rotting wood groaned under the pressure. Once, twice, dust and splinters rained down. Bang! The lid finally cracked open. A gust of cold, putrid air rushed in. Like a drowning man finding a raft, you scrambled out and tumbled onto the frigid ground. The sky was tinged with pale gray, but the village remained cloaked in an oppressive darkness. Heart pounding. You tried to stand when the awful noises below suddenly stopped. A bluish-black hand, dripping with rot and fresh blood, suddenly shot out from the cellar and clawed the edge. Then came Wang Mazi's head, or what was left of it. His face was fully blackened, twisted beyond recognition. His eyes rolled white, void of reason, filled only with madness and bloodlust. He let out a gurgling growl, struggling to climb out. What froze your soul was the massive shadow behind him, dragging something up with it. That something was old Li. One of his legs was clenched in the jaws of the monster Wang Mazi had become, blood pouring out. His face was soaked in blood, and when he saw you still outside, his eyes blazed with one last surge of fury and desperation. He screamed, his voice ragged and broken. "Run. Don't look back. Run." With that final cry, old Li swung his one free arm and smashed it down on Wang Mazi's gripping hand, with all his strength, bony fingers surging with their last burst of life. Crack! A loud snap echoed in the air. Wang Mazi shrieked. His claw lost its grip, and both he and the monster locked onto old Li tumbled back into the dark cellar. Old Li, your heart clenched, as if crushed by an icy fist. You screamed in despair. But before you could even process the pain, behind you a blast of cold, reeking wind struck like a knife. You spun around, heart nearly bursting. Two twisted, rigid shadows had silently emerged from behind a collapsed wall, like hyenas sniffing blood, their hollow eye sockets locked onto you. Their bluish-gray faces were blank, consumed by a pure, feral hunger. They opened their mouths, baring blackened, broken teeth, growling low and eager. Then they lunged fast, terrifyingly fast, far quicker than the ones from the night before. Survival instinct kicked in. You turned and ran. Your legs were jelly, stumbling forward toward the village's edge, where a few ruined huts leaned against a steep cliff. Behind you, the growls and dragging footsteps were relentless, like maggots on bone, chasing your every move. The cold fear poured over you like icy water, freezing you to your core. You could feel the hot stench of their breath brushing your neck. They were almost on you. Just as a cold, black-nailed hand was about to grab your shoulder, your inner pocket suddenly burst with searing heat. It felt like pressing a red-hot brand against your chest. You cried out, clutching at your chest. It was the bundle your silent, paper talisman-obsessed father had forced into your hands before you left home, oil paper-wrapped talismans. One of them was burning now. The edges curled and blackened like paper money in a fire, reeking of scorched ash, emitting a faint but pure golden-red glow. A miracle happened. The two corpses nearly upon you recoiled with a screech, inhuman and sharp. As if scalded by an invisible brand, they jerked back, smashing into the broken wall with a heavy thud. For the first time, their blank faces twisted in pain and revulsion. They shrank back, staring at the burning talisman, growling with hatred but not daring to come closer. That light, fragile as it was your last hope, a firefly in the night. You clutched the burning talisman, now rapidly fading, and held it out like a torch, stumbling toward the huts by the cliff. The undead followed, snarling with fury, staying just outside the talisman's glow, like beasts driven back by flame. You rushed into the hut closest to the cliff. Half the roof had collapsed, the walls cracked and crumbling, but it offered some cover. You pressed your back to the cold dirt wall, gasping, heart pounding like it would explode. The talisman's light was nearly gone, only a faint ember danced along the scorched paper's edge. That tiny spark could die at any moment. Outside, the growls and pacing footsteps gathered like a death drum, closer and faster. The talisman had held them off, but they hadn't left. They were waiting for the light to die, waiting to tear you apart. Cold despair gripped you again. This was it. When the talisman went out, so would your life. As the final ember began to fade, and the undead outside stirred with renewed frenzy, bang, crack! Behind you, in the hut's rear wall, a corner near the ground gave way with a crash. Years of decay and your frantic entry had loosened the earth. A hole opened up half your height. A rush of cold, damp air poured in, thick with the smell of soil and something ancient and unnameable. A cave. The hut backed against a cliff, and a collapsed section had hidden a cave entrance. Hope struck like lightning through the dark. You didn't hesitate, scrambling on all fours. You tore at the soft dirt, dragging yourself into the hole. Just as half your body slipped into the cave's darkness, the last ember died. Whoosh! Outside, the bloodthirsty howls exploded. The undead smashed through the rotten door and window frames, flooding into the hut like a tidal wave of death. In the nick of time, you pushed hard, yanking your whole body into the cave. At that instant, several bluish-black claws, caked with dirt, swiped where you had just been raking the inside of the entrance wall with a sickening screech. Dirt crumbled down. You crawled deeper, heart thundering. Outside, the undead shrieked and clawed at the entrance, trying to break in, but the narrow passage and unstable dirt held them back. For now, you were safe. You collapsed on the cold, damp ground, gasping for air. The aftermath hit you like a wave, leaving your limbs weak. The cave was pitch black, so dark you couldn't see your hand. But outside, the howls and scratching reminded you. Death still lingered nearby. In the dark, your fingers brushed against something. Wait, that wasn't just dirt. You felt rough fabric, textured. Then a cold, rigid hand. Old Lee? The name exploded in your mind like thunder. He had been dragged into the cellar, but toward the side where this cave connected. Did he somehow crawl here? You lunged forward, hands trembling as you fumbled in the dark. Yes, it was Old Lee's familiar tattered jacket. You felt his wiry body, cold as stone. Desperately, you reached for his neck, checked for breath. Nothing. No heartbeat, no signs of life. A wave of grief crushed you. Old Lee hadn't made it out. Your eyes blurred with tears, but this wasn't the time to mourn. The scratching at the cave entrance grew louder. Even stones were being clawed loose. You had to move. You had to get him out of here, out of this hell. Some unknown strength surged in you. Gritting your teeth, you summoned every ounce of energy to drag his cold, stiff body up. His dead weight, heavy and unyielding, pressed against your frail frame, his touch seeping through your rags like ice. It was like carrying a tombstone, frozen, solid. Hunched over, you stumbled deeper into the pitch-black, narrow tunnel, unsure where it led. Every step was a struggle. The ground was slick, uneven, the cave walls jagged. Cold droplets splashed your neck. The weight on your back crushed the air from your lungs. Behind you, the undead shrieked. Ahead, only darkness. But you had one thought. Forward. Get out. Bring Old Lee out. You didn't know how long you crawled. Time lost all meaning. Just as your legs turned to lead and your mind began to blur there, a faint light ahead. Not fire, not starlight, daylight. Pale and cold, the kind only dawn could bring. A jolt of hope shot through you. With the last of your strength, you stumbled toward it. And then, the tunnel opened wide. You burst out of the cave entrance, still carrying Old Lee. Blinding, long-lost daylight washed over you. You gasped, greedily gulping the crisp morning air. Your lungs burned, your legs gave out. You collapsed onto a slope, patchy with withered grass, the body on your back crashing down with you. Sunlight, real warm sunlight bathed your face and body, pushing back the cave's icy despair. You lay on your back, gasping, tears mixing with sweat. You made it. You escaped. Old lie, we made it, you panted, turning your head to check on the silent weight on your back. But what you saw froze your blood. In the clear morning light, Old Lee's body was changing horribly. The exposed skin on his face and hands looked like it had been splashed with acid, rotting and caving in at a horrifying pace. The bluish gray drained away, replaced by corpse, pale white. Then the skin peeled like burnt paper, revealing dark, blood-stained flesh and gleaming bone. A stench 10 times stronger than in the cave exploded in the air, suffocating you. "No! No!" You shrieked in terror, scrambling to get away. Just as you struggled to escape the rapidly decomposing corpse, one of his hands, barely more than bone with a bit of clinging flesh, jerked up. It grabbed your collar in a sudden, bone-chilling grip. You were paralyzed with fear, frantically trying to pry off the freezing fingers. On his half-rotted face, a single clouded eye remained, and in the sunlight it moved, slowly, painfully. It locked onto you. That gaze, no hatred, no violence, only a deep, bottomless sorrow, and something else, a maddening, desperate obsession. From his throat came one last rasp, like air escaping a broken bellows. That skeletal hand, with the last bit of strength, didn't strike, it shoved something hard and cold into your flailing hand. The light in his eye vanished. His hand went limp and dropped with a dull thud. His body, now in full sunlight, collapsed faster as if set aflame by the day. In seconds, he was no more than a stinking heap of dark sludge, foul cloth, and scattered white bone. You sat paralyzed beside the reeking pile of decay, your mind blank, your body frozen. All that remained was heavy, ragged breathing and uncontrollable shaking. Your stomach heaved, but you had nothing left to vomit. Only bitter bile burned your throat. A long time passed before the terror and nausea subsided. Then you remembered the object in your hand. It was a small mirror, circular, framed with coarse, tarnished bronze. The surface was scratched and misty, barely capable of reflecting anything. Instinctively, hand shaking, you raised this death-stained bronze mirror to your face. The hazy surface revealed a ghost, your pale, dirt-smeared, tear-streaked self. But the moment your eyes met your reflection, an icy jolt surged through your body. Every drop of blood seemed to freeze. In the center of your pupils, clear as a brand, sat a pinpoint of cold, bluish black. That same color, the same as the rot spreading on Wang Mazi's skin, the same as on the undead. The mirror slipped from your numb fingers and landed silently in the dry grass, face up, reflecting the gray sky. You sat frozen, a statue under a curse. The sun still shone, but its warmth could no longer touch you. Behind you, the village lay like a corpse in the valley's shadow. Ahead, the famine-scarred land stretched on without end. You lifted your trembling hand to your face. In the light, your skin looked pale, sickly yellow. You stared hard, searching for any hint of that deadly bluish black. Nothing. Just the same starved, weathered flesh you knew. But in your mind, that black speck in your pupil burned like a nightmare. Was it real? A hallucination? You dove for the grass, scrambling wildly, found the mirror and stared into your eyes again. The blurred reflection trembled, and there it was, that same enlarged, terrified gaze, and deep within it, the needle-point stain of bluish black, cold, sharp, unmistakable. Like a seed, buried at the very heart of your life. The mirror slipped again from your hands. You collapsed, back to the land that had birthed monsters. The sun blazed, but you only felt the cold, the kind that seeped deeper than the cellar's night. Your stomach growled, a hunger without end. But worse than hunger was that silent mark now etched into your eyes. Ahead lay nothing but scorched earth. Behind you, a village of the damned, and you balanced on the razor's edge between life and death. In your pupils, a single drop of blue-black spread like ink, silent and slow.